Nobody knows what happened on the nights the heroes fell. All we know is that they disappeared and evil triumphed, and the bad guys have been calling the shots ever since. What happened to Wolverine is the biggest mystery of all. Some say they hurt him like no one before. Others say he just grew tired of all the fighting and retired to a simpler life. Either way, he hasn't raised his voice or popped his claws in close to 50 years. Pa? 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 We head to the present day where Logan's son is telling him that the tractor is broken down again, insisting that they needed a new engine. Logan tells him unless he has some magic beans, they won't be able to get one. It's clear that he and his family are struggling to make ends meet. His wife Maureen suggests that they sell the kids electronics, but Logan is adamant they can't sell their children's toys. His son agrees and tells him he doesn't even have time for games anymore, but Logan looks down at his youngest daughter before saying, "I'm not selling my children's toys." His daughter then tells him that she overheard her father used to be a superhero who was a part of some team before the bad guys took over, but Logan simply tells her that there was no such thing as superheroes. Hey guys, what is happening? Nihat here with Film Comics Explained, and I am excited to be covering a truly incredible story featuring my favorite X-Man, Wolverine. Wolverine Old Man Logan is a story arc written by Mark Miller and penciled by Steve McNiven in 2008 as part of the monthly Wolverine ongoing series. In essence, Old Man Logan is an alternate version of Wolverine, featuring an aged Logan. The series was so successful that it led to Old Man Logan getting his own solo series a few years later. Logan, the outstanding movie that came out earlier this year, was loosely based on this story, and I mean loosely. Now, Old Man Logan shows an alternate reality where the superheroes have fallen and the villains now rule over the USA. What's essentially happened since the fall of the superheroes is that the country has been split up into territories that are owned by a handful of supervillains. We've got the Hulk family who own the East Coast, the Kingdom of Kingpin, Doom's Lair, all the way up to New Babylon, formerly known as Washington, which is owned by the Red Skull. We return to Logan and his wife Maureen, where we find out the reason they are so worried about money is that their landlords are the vicious Hulk family. The Hulk's grandchildren are responsible for collecting payments, and it's explained that they show no mercy, as we are told about a family who were all slaughtered after missing their rent payments 3 months in a row. Maureen points out that this is the first time they'll be missing a payment in 20 years, but Logan tells her it doesn't matter to the Hulks, as they needed to save face and cannot appear to look weak in front of the other territories. We then transition to the arrival of the Hulk family a few days later, who were flying in a modified Fantastica. What Miller is doing here is reinforcing the idea that the superheroes that we know are gone. No Fantastic Four, no X-Men, no Avengers, nothing. This is a bleak reality, but we're going to come to find out how it came to be this way. Two of the Hulk children, Otis and Charlie, hop out and begin to torment Logan. They call him Wolverine and he tells them Logan's fine, after which they start making fun of the fact that he's become a pacifist. They ask if he's ready to take his punishment. He tells them that he is, before he is pummeled into the ground with tremendous force. The two boys continue to lay into him as they say, "Come on, you used to be the most dangerous man alive." His son then points a shotgun at them and tells them to get their hands off his pa. We see them laughing as they say the kid is lucky they have a sense of humor. They then tell Logan that rent is double the following month and he'd better pay or his whole family would die. We see them jet off as the family runs towards Logan. A few days later, Logan is visited by his old friend Hawkeye, who jokes that it doesn't look too bad to him, to which Logan responds by saying, "That's because you're blind, Hawkeye." Clint then offers him a delivery job, which will essentially help cover the huge payment that is owed to the Hulk family. Logan asks if it's legal, and Hawkeye smiles as he says, "You'd ask an old Avenger if he'd break the law." Clint tells him that he needs to get a package to the East Coast inside 2 weeks and needs a navigator. He's willing to pay him $500, which is a considerable amount of money, which will cover the rent that is due and then some. Logan says goodbye to his family and tells his daughter that he loves her before walking towards Hawkeye's Spider-Mobile, who jokes and says, "Oh please, if Sabretooth could see you." We get a look at the new map of USA as they begin their 3,000-mile journey. They reach the northern outskirts of California. Clinton jokes that nobody's going to mess with him while he has Wolverine as his wingman, and Logan assures him that he is not that guy anymore. What Clint says next is that he does not believe for 1 second that Logan is as harmless as everyone else thinks. After a day or so, the sat-nav tells them that they've arrived in San Francisco, but they're both confused as everything seems to have disappeared. It's at this point that they spot the Malloids. It's explained to us that they are an underground race the Mole Man had found, and a lot of people think they're essentially the planet's immune system. Clinton tells Logan that they were resting underground for millions of years and were released onto the surface the moment our numbers reached 8 billion. They essentially have the ability to sink entire cities, as is seen by the apparent disappearance of San Francisco. The two were then besieged by the Ghost Riders. Now, these guys aren't like the anti-hero Ghost Rider, who has been bonded with a demon, because he is insanely powerful. I've double checked and this seems to be their first and last appearance, suggesting that Mark Millar just threw them in here to demonstrate how far this earth has fallen. But they are essentially just a gang of scavengers. They knock Clint to the ground before they begin to lay into Logan. I mean, they throw a spear into him and he's also bludgeoned across the face. They ask why he isn't fighting back, and he tells them that he will never hurt another living soul, and is told that is stupid before he is hit again. They start searching through the car and mention they'd caught wind of a package heading east. We then see arrows flying through and taking the gang out as Clint says, "That's right bitches, just keep making noises." What we find out is that Hawkeye is a little annoyed here. He essentially thought he could rely on Logan for backup and really did think Wolverine would come back to help them if a hostile situation arose. I mean, he was banking on that. Clint is very capable, and even as a blind man we can see that he can take care of himself, but the Wolverine is in a league of his own. His regenerative healing, adamantium skeleton, claws, and animal instinct make him a terrifying one-man army. Clint looks on at Logan as he asks, "What the hell did they do to you, man?" We get a brief glimpse of some supervillains all descending on Wolverine as he says, "They broke me." They arrive at Hammer Falls, Nevada, formerly known as Las Vegas. Hammer Falls is essentially the territory that is controlled by Kingpin. What we find out is that this place has become a tourist attraction, a sort of place of worship for the fallen superheroes, with statues that have been erected. They drive past and see Mjolnir, indicating this was the location where Thor had fallen, which also suggests where the location gets its new name, Hammer Falls. They are then notified by Ultron 8 that Hawkeye's ex-wife, Tonya, has been trying to reach him. Tonya is essentially Peter Parker's youngest daughter. They reach her, and it's explained that their daughter Ashley had created a super team of her own, inspired by her father's stories about the fallen Avengers, in an effort to take out the Kingpin. What Tonya reveals is that Ashley had been caught by the Kingpin, and he planned to execute her and her team in the morning. Hawkeye tells Tonya that he'd never picked Ashley as the altruistic type, and this whole hero thing didn't seem like her, but she insists that he should be more focused on the life of his daughter, which will come to an end in the morning unless he does something. Clint tells her that they will rescue her, but Logan insists that he's not coming. Hawkeye is surprised, but Logan goes on to say that he was hired to be his map reader, not to get caught up in a quest going up against the Kingpin. Hawkeye offers to pay him double, and we see Logan reluctantly agree to come along, before assuring him that he will still not fight. Clint tells him that he only needs him to read the map, before Ultron approaches Logan and tells him that he wanted to give him something for luck. He then hands him an X-Men keyring. We then head to a stadium in Salt Lake City run by the Kingpin. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Daredevil and the Punisher, two of the three superheroes that waltz into town to save everyone from the Kingpin of crime. We then see Kingpin, who is essentially telling the two that he killed Magneto and took over his territory. Daredevil asks him what he's done with Ashley, just as the Kingpin releases raptors on them. They are ripped apart, and we see that they have no chance as they are chained by the neck. Clint and Logan scout the location and spot at least 50 armored guards in the building containing Ashley. We head to Ashley, who is being taunted by one of the guards. He essentially tells her that it must be in her blood, having Hawkeye as a father and Peter Parker as grandfather, before asking what she was thinking coming here. Ashley simply smiles back. We can also see that the other two are using the Spider-Mobile to drive along the side of the building. Logan asks if Clint's plan involved crashing to the other building and killing everyone, and Clint simply says, "Yep." We then see the vehicle smash through the walls before Hawkeye gets out and starts taking them out with style. Logan tells him to watch out, but Hawkeye explains it's not much of a contest with them yelling and giving away their location. He slices through all of them before asking Ashley where the control panel was. She yells back, 31 inches to the left of my voice. He then fires 2 arrows, one hitting the guard and the other destroying the panel, which releases Ashley. Kingpin walks in and asks what's going on, to which Ashley says, "You made your first mistake." She then swings the gun and uses her enhanced strength to decapitate Kingpin. She then knocks her father to the ground and tells him that she has killed the Kingpin like he had killed Magneto, before explaining it was time to show these boys what their new boss was made of. She's about to swing down, but is interrupted by Logan, who smashes through the wall before collecting Clint and driving out through the building. They make it some distance before they are soon followed by Ashley's men. There appear to be at least 50 cars on their tail, along with raptors. We then see that the ground collapses around them, causing all the vehicles to plummet. We see the two of them get back into the nigh invulnerable Spider-Mobile and turn the lights on to reveal that the entire force that was pursuing them were now being torn apart by the Moloids. Logan asks what they're going to do, and Clint tells him to relax as they have the Spider-Mobile, and it essentially does whatever a spider can, as we see the car drive up towards their escape. They reach South Dakota, where we spot the Venom symbiote in the mountains, looking down on them. They then reach a small bar in Iowa, where Logan asks if Clint is still in shock about Ashley. Clint says, "I helped so many people leave this world. It was so damn cool to watch someone arrive. How the hell did I screw up so bad?" He turns to Logan and jokes that at least he seems to be more like his old self, and Logan simply replies with, "That's what I'm afraid of." Clint asks him what he means, and Logan tells him that he knows exactly what he means, as we see Wolverine standing over villains he had just killed in a flashback. They head outside, and Clint asks him what they did to him, and Logan finally tells him to sit down while he tells him the story. We head back over 50 years to the Xavier Mansion, where several alarms have begun to go off. Wolverine and Jubilee look on at the computers as she explains the distress calls were coming from the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., Fantastic Four, and Wakanda, basically just about everywhere, and her attempts at communicating with them have been met with a high-pitched frequency. Wolverine tells Jubilee that they need to get out of there, and we see a massive explosion sending the two flying, as a voice says, "No, you needed to get out of here 20 minutes ago." Wolverine looks down at the lifeless body of Jubilee as he is besieged by 40 villains. We can see that Octavius is choking him as the students try and make it to safety. The villains then mock him and say that they have worked this thing out with their greatest minds to ensure their victory. Left without a choice, Wolverine goes nuts and begins taking all the villains out. Now, while he's rescuing the children and killing all the villains, we can see him yelling out for Cyclops and Storm, and he's really confused why none of them have come to help. He tells a group of kids to run and not look back as he eviscerates a few more villains. They do not stand a chance as he rips into them with his adamantium claws. He reaches the last villain, Bullseye, who says, "Logan, stop. Please. You were supposed to be our friend." It's at that moment that he realizes that it's actually Jubilee in his arms, not Bullseye. Mysterio then appears and explains that he is the Master of Illusions, and he'd been recruited by the villains to help trick Wolverine into killing his own X-Men family. What he then tells him is that up against 40 villains, he would have had a much harder time, but up against friends who would hesitate before striking him, he cut through them like a hot knife through butter. The realization that he's killed all of his friends begins to sink in, just as we reach the end of this video. This is one of my favorite comics to come from Marvel, truly a masterpiece by Miller. If you'd like to purchase a copy of the comic in its entirety, I've left links in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this one. As always, it's been a pleasure. Nihat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.